going to try to find a sense of balance within ourselves by taking ourselves out of the mix. There are certain parts of ourselves that we are going to show, but there are some insecurities that we might have that we're not going to be how we feel and how we want to grow, even though we don't really know exactly what it's going to take for us to get there. And one of the reasons why I said that is because Mars is in the 9th house in this chart, Mars in Cancer, and it's also forming a square to the nodes. And it's also applying a square to Juno in the 12th as well. I feel like relationships came when I was looking at this chart, relationships was coming up to me a lot. I feel like it's kind of cliche to talk about relationships in Libra season, but it's very true. And our relationships are a mirror, and they have a very deep reflection. And it feels like we're not really feeling comfortable with looking back at us. Having Chiron exactly on the descendant of this ingress chart, it definitely shows that searching for ourselves in some of the wrong places. Some of the things that we have been discovering, or some of the people that we've been coming into contact with, feeling like, okay, maybe they can help us, or maybe there's some type of connection that we may have. It feels like they might not be quite ready to give you what you need. And it's not necessarily because they can't, it's also because they don't know how to. And I definitely feel like this Libra season, and especially these next 3 months, be careful when it comes to idolizing people. Because I feel like even now we're seeing that these people that we've put on pedestals don't necessarily deserve to be there. We're not supposed to have idols. And I feel like there could be some false idols that are going to be coming to attention, especially the next month, the next 3 months, that we're going to be aware of. Jupiter being in the 8th, and also Uranus and the moon also in Taurus in the 8th, I feel like there might be opportunities to financially level up, but we need to be making sure that we're investing in the right things. Just because it might feel good on an emotional level, is it logical? And speaking of, is it logical? Mercury in Virgo is at 22 degrees in the 11th house in this chart. So we have the mental acumen to get certain things done, know who needs to be around, be able to sift through what resources that we have that can get us to where we need to go, whether it's people, skills, things that we have, whether it needs to be negotiated, leveraged. There's a level of strategy that we have that we can utilize, but we definitely need to pay attention to not acting out of passive aggressiveness and being able to verbalize the things that we want. And I also would say that it's very important to not get offended by things. I feel like the energy, it just feels easily triggered. So making sure that you're tempering your emotions is very important this Libra season. Understanding that it's okay to go deeper. Not everything has to be surface level with certain people. Sometimes you can get more just by having that sense of vulnerability. You know, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be a Stepford wife. You can just be you. And there's nothing wrong with being you. One thing I definitely want to just bring into awareness, I feel like with Venus having such a tight square to Pluto in the fourth, there's going to be some things coming up with family in terms of trying to see where your values align based off of certain things that are traditional to your culture and your upbringing, but certain things that might be ingrained into certain family patterns that you have. You don't have to do things just because everybody in your family's been doing it. It's okay to go against certain norms, certain cultural norms. We do have Aquarius in the fourth, and it's very close, but it was almost intercepted. And with that, it definitely feels like the need of hiding your individuality, trying to fit into spaces where you're not really comfortable, but also needing to figure out who you are within certain spaces. And, having Capricorn and Aquarius being ruled by Saturn in the fifth house, this definitely speaks to learning how to have fun again. With it being retrograde, there's a level of restrictions that need to get loosened to start feeling more comfortable when it comes to how you parent, um, how you have fun, how you express your creativity. Any creative blocks that you might be experiencing, you may notice you might not have as much, or you're going to be feeling a little bit more comfortable tapping into your creativity and being innovative, creative, free flowing, and open. Saturn is also making a trine to Mars. So I feel like as you allow yourself to be creative, to feel comfortable within who you are, this is going to breed more growth for you. One thing that I would want to say is in terms of your growth, how you view spirituality, how you express yourself, I would say through writing or through like recording, things of that nature, broadcasting and publishing. Make sure that you are not placating to the agenda of others. If this doesn't feel comfortable to you, it's okay. It might feel a little bit hard to tap into your backbone this season, understanding that you can speak up for yourself, you can do what you really want to do, and that's okay. Having the ruler of Mars in the ninth, in the eighth, exalted in Taurus, this is definitely showing that there are some emotional triggers that we have when it comes to allowing ourselves to feel comfortable within spirituality and religion, or at least finding who we are and being able to properly assert that, or going after our desires when it comes to these topics. Maybe if you want to start writing or making YouTube videos or talking about spirituality, or, this is also the higher mind. So there could be some intellectual or philosophical things that you are, that you have that you might not feel other people want to know, or you don't feel it's worth expressing. And it absolutely is. But there are certain things within ourselves that we need to work through. There also could be some loose ends when it comes to finances that need to get tied up for us to feel a little bit more comfortable tapping into these things too. So that's also something to really think about. But it could also show family. Things with family could really be changing. And I feel like instead of allowing that to hold yourself back, you can actually kind of use it as like a push to move forward. Going through different changes can be very uncomfortable, but I feel like we're all in this transitional period where we're trying to make things happen for ourselves, and we don't know how we're going to do those things. And one of the best ways is to really tap into ourselves, our inner selves, our bodies, how we feel. if this is what we need to be doing for ourselves, if this feels good to us. Literally just being able to have certain check-ins where you can internally feel what feels right. Because I feel like we tend to overcomplicate things, and looking at this Libra ingress chart, it definitely shows that overcomplicating things, just kind of being up and down, not understanding how to assert ourselves are going to be things that are going to be coming up. And it's going to be really important to temper ourselves as much as we can. Of course, there are certain things that feel pretty uncomfortable, but having Venus in our first house, it shows that, and it's at 29 degrees, a critical degree, it shows that things are shifting and we're glowing up, we're improving, and we need to allow ourselves to know that we're just continuing to get better. But also, there's so much focus within making things happen that we need to make sure that we're not getting lost in all the things that we have going on, making sure that we're paying attention to self-care, that we're paying attention to taking care of ourselves. Like I said before, this is an amazing time for creativity and expression, and to allow that to flow. And I feel like this is a great time to beautify things or make things more handsome, whether it's within your home or yourself. So definitely like switching out your fall clothes. Maybe certain things might not resonate. Getting new clothes, getting your hair done, getting new makeup, going to the barber a little bit more often, getting manicures, just things on the outside can really help on the inside, because I feel like when you look at yourself in the mirror, this is the time to really like what you see. And if you don't like what you see, there are ways to make changes to feel a little bit better. And I'm not necessarily saying like surgery or like fillers or anything, but like things that aren't too dramatic. But having this Venus at 29 degrees, it might get a little dramatic. So you might notice that there are people, doing more work to themselves. So that's also something to be aware of. I would say we're in the middle of eclipse season and there's a lot of retrogrades happening. I would probably hold off from doing anything like that, but to each their own. I also want to say, in terms of finances, um, the ruler of the second house is in the ninth. And then I also mentioned things going on in the eighth house. There absolutely is ability to grow your finances, but there needs to be a plan. There needs to not be overindulging. And also there needs to be boundaries within the home, within yourself. I know that there are things that you want, things that you're passionate about, things that you might be feeling a little impatient that you don't have. And it will happen within time, but you need to be balanced and have a level of action if this is what you really want.